Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
And yeah, to start off, I might sound a little different today. That is because I am on the road. I'm traveling and I'm on a mobile setup. So pardon any different sounding things or interruptions or hiccups or anything that might occur. But what do we have going on today? Well, as you can see, we're here on the staging branch and there's an exciting new addition. We've got parachutes are in. So we'll be going through what is going on with parachutes along with other stuff in development. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to do Miss D underscore that's me in chat, and we'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Also, if you're wondering about server wipes, what's going on with server wipes today? Well, for Rustafied servers, it is the weekly Thursday wipe servers that are wiping today. A lot of them have already wiped because they wipe at 3 p.m. local time for the region. So that means EU wiped like 3 hours ago. EU main, small, Baron, Zen Labs, and EUS. AU and SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago, something like that. And the US servers, US main, small, Baron, and Zen Labs will wipe in just 2 hours at 3 p.m. EST. And these are map wipes only, as we are mid month. And it's actually a long month this month. There's 5 Thursdays. So that means we've got 2 Thursdays, 2 more weeks until this update comes out on September 7th. And so we're tracking, yeah, an extra Thursday. So if you are wondering what's going on with the bi-weekly wipe servers, those will wipe again next week for Rustified, the mediums, the trios, and the like. And they will just have a 1 week wipe cycle until the update comes out. So what do we have going on here? Well, we've got parachutes. We're over here on staging. And after being in concept limbo and kind of in the just conceptual stage for years, parachutes are finally now on staging. And we're seeing how they work. And as you probably know, a parachute, well, you jump off a high place, the parachute deploys. It gets you down not so quick as a free fall. And that's basically what we're seeing with this parachute. It is, I do want to say, still very much a work in progress. And so I imagine a lot of things are going to shift and change in the coming 2 weeks. But given it is on staging now, I think there's a very high likelihood that this will be in for the update coming on September 7th. So there's a couple things about the parachute to take note. One, there is like a new inventory slot of sorts when you equip a parachute. And then it's pretty easy if you've got a parachute and you've picked it up, you've got it in your inventory, you can basically just jump off a high place and then press spacebar and you start kind of floating down. And then when you're floating down, you can use the W, A, S, and D keys to kind of steer a little bit. A and D will get you left and right. And then you press W to kind of like lean forward and speed up a bit, and S to kind of lean back and slow down a bit. If you've ever parachuted in another game, or maybe in real life, I don't know how it stands in real life compared to video games, but in other video games, this is kind of what you see. Like I'm thinking GTA parachuting, you can kind of slow down by pulling back a bit and speed up by leaning forward. And it's the same thing here. And you just use the W, A, S, and D keys for that. Now, you can also, while you're free falling or parachuting down, I should say, it's not a free fall, you can shoot weapons as well. You can equip a weapon and pull it out and shoot it. Now, the thing with that, though, is if you have a weapon out, you will be unable to steer. So you kind of just float down, but you can shoot. Now, also, you can be shot, as you would imagine, in these parachutes. So when you're coming down, based on our initial testing, it looks like it takes about 15 rifle shots to take a parachute down. And as they take damage, so if you take not a full 15 shots, but maybe, a handful of shots, the parachute you'll notice will start to fall a bit faster. and it'll become harder to control, harder to steer as the damage piles up. And then if you're like really falling fast and you hit the ground, well, your player's gonna get damaged based on the collision force of however fast you were falling, if that makes sense. Now, also, SAM sites can target parachutes, so you'll want to watch out for that. And parachutes can be repacked, so it's not a one-time use thing. You can actually, once you land, repack a parachute in 8 seconds and reuse it. Now, parachutes do have durability, so you're not going to be able to reuse it at infinitum, but you can reuse it a couple times and you can repack it a couple times. Now, you might be asking, where do we get these parachutes? How the heck am I getting a parachute? And it looks like at the moment you can just find them in the basic small boxes, those like little wooden crates. That's where we found them in the loot. Now, at the moment, also, we're unable to research them, we're unable to craft them. So, not sure if they will be craftable or if they're going to be kind of this item that you just have to kind of find around the map and hold on to. We are also not seeing any for sale at vendors around the map or anything like that. But as with all this stuff, keep in mind it is subject to change. It's still very much a work in progress. And so it's very possible we might see some other ways to get a parachute before this goes live in the game in 2 weeks on September 7th. But that is the basics of what's going on with parachutes. And feel free to ask any questions. Once again, Miss D underscore, that's me in chat for any questions you may have. Now, in the wake of the parachute being added and kind of the subtle inventory changes with the parachute slot and everything, the lockers have been updated as well. So they updated the locker to have 42 slots to fit the new parachute slot. And this has also been updated on not just the deployable locker, but also the camper version of the locker. And in that new slot, it only allows backpacks, parachutes, and I feel like they're also accounting for the new upcoming backpack, which is still a work in progress, and I imagine will come at some point, but not sure if that's going to be coming in for the September update. But regardless, it looks like they're updating the locker behavior to account for both the parachute and the backpack potentially. So that's what's going on with parachutes and lockers. Also, we're seeing some changes and some tweaks to the global networked bases kind of body of work. We saw this go live last week on the staging branch, and it's a very exciting new feature that basically is an optimization, but also a huge quality of life thing potentially, where you can see bases from much, much farther away now. And they've done this by converting the base elements into prefabs on the map, more like what the trees and rocks and power lines and stuff are. They're all prefabs loaded on the map when you load into the game. And then you can see them from a very long render distance out. And the idea with the global network bases is they convert all the bases to prefabs, and then you can see them from a greater distance out. And it's, of course, not going to be the highest quality render or LOD when you're at a great distance out, but then that render will improve in quality as you get closer and closer. But this should really limit the instances where you're strafing in a helicopter or moving through the landscape real quick, and all of a sudden your game and your computer kind of comes to a little halt, and you have some hitches as this huge clan base loads up right in front of you. That should be a thing of the past once this global network basis stuff goes live. And it looks like it is going live with the update in 2 weeks as well, the September 7th update. Now, this week we're seeing a couple changes. It looks like they are adding some sliders and things to kind of be able to control the render distance of these spaces. And I think that makes sense, especially if you're not on the most powerful computer. There were some concerns about, especially if you're parachuting from high up on a server that hasn't wiped recently and has a lot of people, there could be bases all over the map. And that does stand to, even though they are prefabs, reduce performance a little bit, especially depending on your setup. So these sliders should help you if you're running into performance issues, just turn it down a little bit, just like any old render distance slider would do. And then hopefully you have a little better performance. Now, also, we're seeing some tweaks to the attack helicopter. This is, of course, the newest air vehicle coming into the game. And specifically, they're just tweaking some stuff with the gunner UI. It looks like some don't show the ammo values in the attack helicopter monitor UI preview since it's not set. And then they updated the attack heli gunner UI to show both current rocket ammo before reload and total rocket ammo available. They're also doing some kind of shader fixes and stuff like that to the UI because some things were clipping. And they fixed right mouse button firing attack heli rockets when not in gunner view because that was just a little glitch that was going on. But long and short, basically, they're getting that attack helicopter ready for prime time. And that is another thing that looks like will definitely be added for the September 7th update in 2 weeks. There's a couple other things being worked on as well. There's a potential new tool cupboard UI like layout they're working on. They're removing the need to switch to tool category, adding an extra slot, and allowing spray can in tools. So basically, just tweaking that tool cupboard UI a little bit so you can fit some more things, including a spray can in there. I think that's still on a separate branch, but it looks like a pretty straightforward body of work. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that go in for the September update as well. They're also doing some more work on new rocket trails. And this is probably in conjunction with the attack helicopter because it, of course, fires rockets. And so they're just doing some new FX for those rocket trails. They're also working on some hot air balloon stuff. They did some lighting and FX updates to it, but they're also still working on hot air balloon armor. Now, we haven't seen any more specifics on this week. We saw the hot air balloon armor stuff be started last week, and we're still not really sure if they're adding like an armor element that you can add to hot air balloons, or if they're just armorizing all hot air balloons by default. Not really sure if which way that's going to go, but regardless, they're moving forward on a little bit more of that hot air balloon armor. And as you would imagine, this is, just to go along with the attack helicopter coming in, it would make sense to be able to buff up those hot air balloons a little bit so you're not just a floating, sitting duck up there once all those attack helicopters get added. Also, speaking of the attack helicopters, real quick, they're adding flares, it looks like, to the attack helicopter, which I imagine will be some sort of countermeasure to the new homing missile launcher, which is also in progress as well. And that looks like it's just going to be kind of just a new kind of RPG launcher, but it will launch homing missiles, which will make it a lot easier potentially to take out attack helicopters around because yeah, the attack helicopter, although they did slow it down a bit last week from its initial, you know, crazy fast state when it hit staging, it's still hard to hit with a rocket, even a high velocity rocket. It's hard to hit anything like to lead the shot and everything. So it looks like we're going to have this homing missile launcher come in as well. And I imagine, given just how all this stuff is shaping up, I imagine they're going to get that merged in the next week and have that be officially a part of the update for September 7th as well. But yeah, that about does it on what's going on in development. Shadow. Miss D, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, we do. Let's start as always with when is WIP?
So whips today are at regular scheduled time for the region. So this is for Rustafied servers only, but it is 3 p.m. local time for the region is when the servers wipe. It is map wipes only today. And it is the weekly Thursday wipe servers wiping today. So that's your mains, your smalls, your barons, your Zen Lab. So AU and SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago. Uh, what is it? EU wiped 3 hours and 15-ish minutes ago.
Yep.
And then at 3 p.m. Eastern, we've got the US servers wiping, and that's going to be US Main, Small, Baron, and Zen Labs.
Can you please come back to Brazil with one server?
Oh, yeah, no, probably not. And I'm sorry, I do feel for you all down in South America. I know people really want Brazil servers or some South America servers, but the long and short with that is we tried for years. We tried a couple different hosts down there. The one host that was sort of working okay just literally went out of business. We found a new host that was setting up in a data center down there. We had a bunch of hardware shipped, and it got stolen from customs apparently, twice apparently, and it just really wasn't flowing. And unfortunately, it's just not set up to reliably run a server down there. The DDoS protection is not great. The network capacity is not great. And if we're going to run a server, we want to be able to run it as well as possible. And that's one thing that we just could not reliably find down in that region of the world. I will stay open and consider new options. Maybe next year I'll look again just to see. But the fact of the matter is, it's not looking too good just because we couldn't reliably find anything down there, unfortunately. So I do feel you, but there are at the moment no plans to open another BR server for Rustified at least.
Does launch site or other SAMs shoot at you when you on a parachute? Yes, they do.
Yeah,
I
the SAM
just,
sites will target you.
yeah, I just added one at the base here. So if you want to check it out,
Cool.
can you wait until last second to use the parachute so you don't glide down forever?
It doesn't have. You don't have to be too high. Probably kind of this sort of height that I've had it deploy from. So from here, I would guess.
And then if you're like much higher, say, can you just not deploy until you're much, much lower and speed up the
Oh, for
process?
sure. Yeah, you can just free fall. Yeah.
Cool.
And I saw someone ask also if you can, if you have like two parachutes, can you switch it out if one like is broken?
Yeah, that was
And
a really
I
good
tried,
question.
yeah, and I just tried
That's good
that
to
and
know.
I actually could do that because the SAM site broke mine and then I switched to the other one
That's
as
it.
I
Yeah.
was falling. Yeah.
Very interesting. I wonder if that's going to go live like that, but hot
I mean,
swapping
it would make
parachutes on the
sense
fly.
if you could swap it out.
I guess, yeah.
What does it cost to craft?
At the moment, we can't craft the parachute. It's not a default blueprint, and we can't research it. It looks like recycling wise, it's giving back metal frags, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And it
So
costs metal frags to repair as well at the minute.
yeah, and it costs metal frags to repair. So it looks like if we are gonna be able to craft it, then it probably will be some form of metal frags or something. Which I guess, what kind of parachute is made out of metal? Anyway, it's still a work in progress. So at the moment, we're just finding it in the basic small boxes around the map. So it's spawning in loot, but you can't research it, you can't craft it, and we're not seeing any vendors selling parachutes either at the moment.
And you repair it in the repair bench, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Let me see here. So the same is kind of, are you able to activate the parachute if you fall off a scrap heli? And yes, you should be able to do that, I assume, since you can do like free fall and
Yep.
just, yeah.
Yeah, I tested that, so you can. It's dependent basically at the moment on height. So as long as you've got a little bit of height about the height that I showed a minute ago, then you should be able to deploy.
And
Yeah, I'm trying to think what that height was in the commits. It was way back in the day, but I feel like they said something like 40 meters or something. But as long as you're up
Yeah.
a certain height, then yeah, you have enough space to deploy the parachute.
Do you think that the parachute slot will double as a backpack slot in the future as a one or the other sort of deal?
I do get that sense, yes. I think with the inventory changes we're seeing for the parachute, it is basically, it looks basically like that will account for the backpack as well. And I imagine you'll either, given this is like visually a backpack on your back, I imagine you'll either be able to carry a backpack and increase your inventory slots, or you'll be able to carry a parachute, but probably not both.
I saw someone said it would actually make sense to use sewing kits to repair it as well.
Yeah, that would, and
Yeah,
maybe some rope or something, but
yeah,
we'll see.
things can still change.
Yeah, very often when they're adding new items to the game, the crafting is one of the later things to get finalized. So it doesn't surprise me at all that, it's not set right now because we still have 2 weeks before this comes out.
Let me see if I can read this one. What do you what do you think of the idea of the jets do bombing runs on the largest concentration of bases, i.e., hit clan/compounds at the end of the wipe?
Yeah, I don't know that I could see why people would want that, but I could also see why the big clans would notably not want that. So I don't know if they're going to be doing bombing runs or strafing or anything like that. They are definitely tweaking the end of wipe activities. We've got the new Bradley iteration being worked on, and they're also working on the new models and textures for the F-15E, I believe is what they're calling it, the fighter jet going overhead. And in fact, I did notice earlier today the flyby branch was actually merged into staging. We haven't had a chance on our test server to set it to end of wipe and really test out what the end of wipe stuff is looking like. But we will do that this week and have some more information for you next week. But I'm not sure exactly. It looks like they might just be having the F-15s drop flares and stuff like that. I'm not sure they're going to actually go and bomb bases, so to speak. But that would be an interesting addition if they chose to do it.
If we get one sec, if we get the air update next week, do you think fire and earth are going to be the work on next?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's a good point because they did a lot of stuff with the water, now we're in the air. Yeah, we might go all four elements for the next 4 months. Who knows?
yeah. Rustafied, can you please not make the FN Knight have Gamma 500?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any control over that. We're not developers of the game. We're not on the Facepunch payroll. We're just independent fans of the game like you, and we love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we possibly can. But we don't really have any control over development of the game. We just report on it. So,
Can you
no, I
shoot
can't
from,
change night.
yeah, can you shoot from the parachute?
Yeah, you can. You can either steer with the parachute or you can shoot, but you can't do both. So if you bust a gun out and start shooting, then you can't steer the parachute
Info.
anymore.
Also, you can't look directly below. This line here is as far down as you can aim right now.
Oh, yeah, good point. Thank you, Artemis.
Is parachute pick up faster with a hammer?
It's a good question. I'll
I
test it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
about
good
to learn.
question. I
Yeah.
don't believe so, but we could see.
Let me see here. Will the server load in times be longer? Will the server load times be longer when they added bases?
Yeah, with that global network basis, I understand why you're asking the question because what they're doing with the base elements basically on that global network basis stuff is converting them into prefabs. And if you're, you know, loading into the game, you'll notice the asset warmups and the prefabs and stuff like that. So potentially, if you're loading into a larger server that has a lot of bases, it might increase the load time a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be anything really substantial, but we haven't had the opportunity to test that out too much now, just because it was just merged in last week, and we don't have any test servers where people are building a ton of bases. So it's going to be one of those things we kind of just have to wait and see. But I'd say it's possible we could see some increased loading times, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
Can you parachute down a mining shaft slash cave?
Maybe might be hard
You
to
mean,
aim.
yeah, I know what you're saying. The indoor bit. No, because whoa, actually, pass. Yeah, yeah,
We could try, but yeah.
yeah. I think this is going to be difficult, but I'll try.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I was wondering if there was a reason that Rustafied servers don't have leaderboards, and what are the chances of them being added in the future?
Oh, well, we actually are working on a stats and leaderboard system. So it's still in the planning stages and stuff like that. We're hoping to have something launched by, I'd love by the end of the year, but we'll see. There's a lot of other projects we're working on. But it's all to say we do have a leaderboard and stats system planned.
Noise. Does the parachute add to the player hitbox?
Oh,
No.
like the backpack on the back? No.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess, yeah.
good question, but no, it doesn't.
If the new slot is for parachutes and or backpacks, do you think the backpack could be loaded up and switched out when with a parachute and still carry the loot?
I see where you're going with that. I really don't know. I imagine probably not. They're probably going to have some fail safes in place to have people like, I imagine if you've got a backpack with anything in it, then it'll will have to carry it. It'll have to be equipped in the backpack slot, which will block a parachute from being able to be equipped. And then probably if you have stuff in the backpack, you'll either be able to equip it or drop it, but not have it just be some random spot in your inventory. We'll have to see though, because the backpack, as far as increased inventory and everything goes, has not been added yet. We don't know if that's going to be coming in this month. It does look like with the parachute, they are not only accounting for the parachute backpack part with the inventory, but also um, the upcoming backpack as well. But yeah, we have to wait and see how that's exactly going to function. And that will be easier to tell once it gets merged in, which could happen next week. They're still working on it, but I don't give it a huge likelihood that we'll see the backpacks come in with this update as well.
Can you steer the parachutes to one side and pull up gun? Will you whoa. I'm gonna try again. Can you steer the parachute to one side and pull up gun? Will you spiral or fly straight?
So basically, as soon as you pull out a weapon, it cancels the directional action that you're doing. So if you're holding like WAS or D, then you'll stop doing that as soon as you pull the gun out.
Yeah. So anytime you're aiming a weapon, it basically will just stop any steering that you were doing until you
Well
de-equip the
done,
weapon.
guys. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reconnect. I was kicked for that.
Oh, damn.
Rip.
Rip.
Ripperoni. Mm, well, is there any news about the ferry terminal and the clan tables?
Yeah, they are still working on that. That's a lot tied up in the Nexus body of work, which we are still seeing some commits around that. We saw this week they were doing some stuff around the back end of how the clan databases are stored and everything like that. But that is still a work in progress. It looks like Facepunch is probably going to have that running internally for a while. And then maybe some other community servers will be able to test the, Nexus stuff. But it's all to say it's still in progress, and maybe we'll see some more go live with that for the September update, but not confirmed at the moment.
What about procedural caves?
That was something we saw a couple of commits on the other month, and then we haven't seen much on that. Now, it's possible there are always the hidden commits, so it's possible there's action being done on that on the hidden commits. But we haven't really seen much on the procedural caves recently. So I don't know if that's in concept limbo or just paused at the moment.
Is this coming to Face Punch as well?
What?
I think in general, just the parachutes and all this, it's
Yeah.
coming into Rust in general, not just in
Yeah.
Rustafied.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is, we're on the staging branch now. So this is all the stuff the developers are working on. And normally, if we see something on staging like the parachutes now, like the attack helicopters, that's generally a very good sign that we're going to see it go live game wide on the next forced wipe and update, which is, of course, the first Thursday of every month. So the next one is 2 weeks from today, September 7th. And I imagine we'll see all this stuff go live on all servers when that happens.
There is no more questions for now, so let's do a recap. And if people have questions, we can do it after.
All right, sounds good. Well, and once again, if I sound a little different this week, I apologize. I am traveling, so I'm on my mobile setup and I'm a little scattered, but that's okay.
You sound
We
great.
do, yeah, well, we're making do. But we do have parachutes over on staging. So, as a little recap here, parachutes have been added to staging. They're a work in progress. You can reuse them, you can repack them in 8 seconds after you land. It does exactly what a parachute, should do is you jump off a high place if you got it equipped, then you can press spacebar and it will deploy the parachute and slow down your descent. You can steer with the parachute deployed. W, A, S, and D will do that. A and D will kind of turn left and right. And then you can lean forward to get more speed with W, or you can lean back and kind of slow down a bit with S. Now, you also can shoot weapons while you are floating down in a parachute. But if you deploy a weapon, if you pull out a weapon, you can't steer. So it's either shoot or steer, but not both. And then you also, of course, can get shot down while floating in the parachute. And it takes, based on our rough tests, and once again, everything's subject to change, but it's about 15 rifle shots to take down a parachute. Now, if you're getting hit and if you're taking damage in the parachute, but it's not fully destroyed, your parachute will fall a bit faster and become harder to steer and control. And then you'll be damaged as a player based on the speed at which you're descending, regardless of the status of the parachute. So keep that in mind. Now, once you land, the parachute kind of like falls on the ground and you can then go up to it and repack it. It takes 8 seconds to repack. It does take some durability off the table. You can repair the parachute with metal frags at the repair bench. It doesn't look like the crafting is necessarily finalized yet. At the moment, you can't research or craft it. It's not a default blueprint and it's not researchable. So it's possible this will be something that you just have to find in loot because that is the only place we're finding it, as opposed to just spawning it, is just in those basic small boxes. We're seeing them in the loot tables there. So not sure if you will be able to craft this or buy this from a vendor, or if you're just going to have to wait and find these around the map in various low-level loot. But we'll keep you posted on that and have some more details when this is actually going live in 2 weeks on September 7th. SAM sites do target the parachutes, so you'll want to watch out because if you're coming down and you're in the range of a SAM site, it will start firing at you. And that goes for launch site as well. But yeah, that's basically it. It just, you can jump off various high places. It has that new inventory slot, which kind of shows up. It's only for the parachute and or backpack, it looks like they're going to be accounting for. But the backpack is not in yet. It's still in development. Not sure if the backpack is going to come with this update as well. I think there's a chance, but I'm giving it like a 50-50 at the moment, just based on the vibes of it. But we'll let you know as more comes to light. Now, also with the addition of this parachute and the inventory slot for it, we've got some updates to lockers. So they updated the locker to 42 slots to fit the new parachute slot. And that updated locker behavior only, it basically in that new slot only allows backpacks. So you can't put anything else other than a parachute at the moment. And it looks like when the backpack comes in, you'll be able to put that there as well. And that locker update has been updated on both the deployable locker and the camper version of the locker. We've got some more work on global networked bases. This is the cool new optimization and quality of life thing that came in last week, which allows you to see bases from much, much, much farther away on the map. Basically, this week we're seeing some addition of sliders and stuff into the options. So if you've got a machine that isn't like a quantum computer or something like that, and you want to squeeze out a little extra performance, you'll be able to turn down the render distance of bases a bit. Just because at the moment, like out of the gate, you can see bases from pretty much straight across the map, which is kind of crazy and awesome. So I imagine we might see a couple more things with global network bases, some tweaks and stuff like that, but it looks like that's pretty in there and good to go. And so it's very likely we're going to see that go live in 2 weeks on September 7th as well. Also coming September 7th is the new attack helicopter, of which we've seen a couple of tweaks and modifications to this week. Basically, they're shifting some stuff around with the UI, the gunner UI, and doing some custom shader fixes to stop some gun components from clipping through, and various other like miscellaneous little tweaks. But the long and short is that attack helicopter is coming in September 7th. It's a two-seater helicopter. You've got a pilot and you've got a gunner. The pilot cannot shoot. You need both to fly and shoot. It's got rocket launchers on either side. You can put any type of rocket in there. And it's got a turret on the bottom front. So you can, just like any turret, basically, you can add any weapon you want, any gun and ammo and attachments. And then the gunner can aim that turret like a manual turret kind of thing while they're flying around. So that new attack helicopter is slated to come in, it looks like. And with it, it looks like there's a couple other balance related things coming in. We've got the homing missile launcher being worked on. So that will probably be coming in as well with the attack helicopter so that people on the ground can actually have a chance to take the attack helicopter out. It looks like with that, there might be some flares on the attack helicopter coming as well. Probably some sort of countermeasure to the homing missile launcher. They're also working on some hot air balloon things with hot air balloon armor and some lighting and FX updates to the hot air balloons. Not sure if the hot air balloons are going to just have armor by default now, or if it's going to be more like horse armor where you've got to craft or buy it and then attach it to a hot air balloon. But we'll keep you posted on that as that gets merged in. But regardless, it looks like some form of buff to hot air balloons is coming in as well. We also have some tweaks to the tool cupboard UI layout, it looks like. Basically, they're just adding an extra slot, allowing the spray can to be added in there as well. And maybe some other tweaks, but that's not merged in yet, but probably will get merged in for the September 7th update if I had to guess. And they're also working on some new rocket trails as well. And that's just visual effects for when you're firing rockets. And it'll just probably make the attack helicopter rocket strafes look nicer. Uh, yeah, and they're also working on the flyby, the end of wipe kind of action with a F-15E fighter jet flying overhead. Got new models and textures coming in for that. They might be dropping flares or something as well. Could be interesting if they're strafing over towards the end of the wipe at night and the flares like light up the sky or something. And they're also working on a new iteration of Bradley, most likely for the end of wipe activities as well. But we haven't seen any specifics on that this week. We will, as with all this stuff, keep you posted though as more comes to light. But yeah, that about does it for the recapity cap here.
Yes, we do.
Cool.
Yeah. How is Charitable Rust coming along since we are less than 8 weeks away?
Yeah, it's coming. We're doing a lot of work on Charitable Rust. I'm excited about Charitable Rust. We are supporting Charity Water this year, which we did support back in, I think, 2018. They're an amazing organization that brings fresh water to people all around the world. And it's not like they just drop a bottle of Dasani off for people. They actually go and build wells and set up the infrastructure so that these communities that don't have access or previously didn't have access to fresh water not only get access to fresh water, but it's not a one-time thing. It's like they have permanent access now to fresh water. So it's an amazing organization. And mark your calendars, October 14th and 15th is when Charitable Rust is going off this year. It is a month early because previously we would do it mid-November, but we're doing it October now, and we've got a bunch of cool stuff planned. It's going to be a new map with some floating islands above. So if you want to do the art contest and the talent show and parkour and stuff, that will be on kind of mystical floating islands above the map, but also down on the normal map will be a 2x accelerated vanilla gameplay server experience as well for the weekend. So you'll be able to play the game in an accelerated fashion and also head up to the hub and partake in the various activities and fun stuff going on for Charitable as well. So we'll have more details on that. We're working on the skins. So we're going to have 4 skins on the item store, the proceeds of which all go towards this amazing cause. There's also going to be Twitch drops for the week. So you'll be able to tune into people on Twitch and get some cool charity related drops. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome time, and we'll have more details and information on that in the coming weeks. But basically, for the time being, just mark your calendar. October 14th and 15th. It's a Saturday and Sunday. There's going to be awesome stuff. There's some other orgs also doing events as well during the weekend. It's just going to be a fun time. So tune in.
Is there any more word on the weapon racks and is it confirmed to be a DLC?
It's not confirmed to be a DLC, but I haven't heard anything pointing to it not being a DLC. So as far as I have it, the weapon racks are still going to be a DLC. That does look like because they are on staging now, so it does look like weapon racks will most likely be in some manner, shape, or form for the September 7th update, and it might just be a new DLC hitting the item store when the update goes live. But we'll keep you posted.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button. I was actually reading the whole question.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Let
say,
me
did my
try.
internet go out, or I'm just like sitting
No,
here with some
I'm
dead
just
air?
pushing the
No.
wrong buttons. Can you
Okay.
sit as a solo in the attack heli while it's on the floor or ground and shoot missiles and the machine gun?
No, the gunner UI only turns on once you're elevated in the attack helicopter. So you do need a pilot there to take off, and that's when you can then access the weapon.
And a good question here. Can you remote detonate a teammate who is parachuting with a C4?
That's a
Um,
good question. I don't know
yeah,
if the
I
bigger
like
Yeah.
I like where your
distance
head's
with
at.
the C4 to
Yeah.
the parachute. Yeah, we can try and test it if you want to. It's up to you.
Yeah, I don't know if the hitboxes would be there for that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure they are, to be fair, because they don't affect, they weren't hitboxes or anything else. We can test it if you like. These up to you.
Sure, you can put a C4 on me. Go in the air. 1 sec.
Let me get a C4 1 sec as well, because it's gonna be quite quick. It's gonna be kind of hard.
In the meantime, how much damage does the fuck?
You're getting, yeah.
How much, how much damage does the attack heli do when you Kamasaki them into a base versus a scrappy?
Wait,
Oh
were they
shoot.
asking about crashing the helicopter into a base?
How much damage does the attack heli do when you Kamasaki them into a base versus a scrappy? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we haven't tested that too thoroughly yet. I do want to do another round of testing with the attack helicopter on damage and everything like that for bases and everything. But given a lot of the balance and all that has been in flux, I it hasn't been there for me to do any final testing. So probably next week we'll get some more specifics on the damage, but it very often doesn't make sense to test specifics uh, like mid-month when something just hit staging because in all likelihood it's gonna shift.
Will Charitable Rust have treat or treat? Is it trick or treat? I think if it's active during that time, if so, treat a treat contest.
Did that pop it?
Oh yeah, I'm
Ah,
down.
interesting.
Huh.
What the
That did
oops,
pop.
what the heck?
But oh yeah, for
I think
charitable and happening in October,
Let me try again. Hold on.
I'm not sure if the Halloween event's going to be going on during charitable. If it is, we might incorporate some Halloween festivities as well into charitable. Yeah, but we've never done charitable in October, so we're gonna have to wait and see.
I just popped another because maybe I pushed the button while I was talking. I'm not sure. Try again. Wait, can you parachute onto loot roof on the launch site? No, you would be shot by SAM sites.
Yeah, the SAM sites are pretty effective at shooting down the parachutes.
no,
It
pretty
is
sure that was
actually.
that. Yeah, it's kind of popping it from the impact
Oh,
rather
interesting.
than actually
Oh, see,
exploding.
I just took another parachute, just like I was 1 meter
Yeah,
above
yeah,
the
right.
ground.
It's good.
Yeah, just swept it out, so I didn't die. So that's pretty cool. I think that's about it, Bugs.
All right, cool. Well, I think we will wind this puppy down then. I do want to thank everyone for tuning in as always. And just a reminder, we're not developers of the game. We're not on the Facepunch payroll. We are just fans of the game like you who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. So I do so appreciate everyone tuning in and watching, people who give bits and subscribe on Twitch. And to our beautiful, wonderful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so much for the support because literally we wouldn't be able to do this every week and run the servers that we run without that support from the community. So thank you. Much love to you all. And pardon me sounding a bit different this week. Once again, I'm on mobile. I'll be on mobile again next week, but then I'll be back for the update and everything. But a huge thank you, Artemis and Miss D, for being my co MCs as always.
As always, you're welcome.
Yep, most welcome, Bugs.
And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.